What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. We thank you all for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever it's coming from, we appreciate you all listening in. Be sure, we don't say this enough, but be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you do go watch on YouTube, we appreciate you all tuning in. You know, I do want to make one point with all the stuff that's been coming out lately, especially our videos, and, you know, just, I guess, hot takes, whatever you want to call that. You know, we don't have to agree or disagree. And I'll give you a small story real quick, Mason Colton. I've not even told you all this, but there's a woman who came up to me and she said she listens to our podcasts at Walmart. And I know her personally. And she had said, you know, like she totally disagreed with us on the host Stokes take about how she didn't want him. And I was like, and I told her, she's like, I almost commented and said, I was like, hey, that's fine. I mean, like, we don't have to agree, you know, like that's totally fine. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing it to, you know, give our opinion. We're not saying our opinion is correct, but it's just our opinion. And, you know, I think that, you know, we don't have to agree with the audience. I mean, would you all agree with that? I mean, that's just our opinion on things.
Engagement's good. Yeah, I mean, give us your opinions. You know, we can always bring it in here and talk about it, and, you know, look at other side of things. So yeah, always if you disagree or you agree or you just got something to say, leave us a comment, poke us, message us, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, that's why we do this, to get the fans interaction. It's a big group. We're all Big Blue Nation in the end. I think we all have a common goal of wanting the best for Big Blue Nation. Just because we see things different or we have different opinions at times doesn't mean that we don't ultimately want the same goal. So we want to hear all the different opinions, and so we can interact with you guys.
Well, we got a lot of opinions going on right now. Tonight, you know, you're going to hear a lot of different topics. We're going to start things off with some updates on Kentucky, kind of where we are right now, kind of what must be done for Kentucky to be back to elite status, back to, you know, that, I guess, Big Blue that we know it for, the blue blood state. Going to talk a little bit about Duke's deal with Amazon. We got a couple of games in store for you all, and then if we have time, we might get to the Kentucky Derby and some NBA playoffs. But kicking off things with just where BBN and Kentucky is at right now. You know, we had sent out Colton does a good job. He sends our lineup out each week, kind of gets us what we're going to be looking at. And, you know, we're going to take a look at some things about where we need to be at and what we need to do in order to be back to that elite status. But before we get there, we're just going to talk a little bit about some updates on BBN right now and where the state of Kentucky basketball is at. So, before we jump into this, I do think that it's really crucial for us to understand and know that, you know, when looking at this transfer portal and all the updates that we're giving you all and that we're all seeing right now, that, you know, the transfer portal is not always 100% accurate, you know, and I think that the best representation of that is Kentucky's roster last year. On pen and paper, you know, you look at that roster and we're like, wow, we are like banner number 9, possibly, like we're searching, and it just didn't work out. So, with a lot of these guys that we did not get, and other teams that are getting these big top recruits, you know, it might work out, it might not work out. You know, that's what the future will tell us. But I do think that that's important to state. So getting into that a little bit, there was a new ranking that came out today. Bart Torvik. I don't really know who that is. Do y'all know who this guy is? I'm sure y'all seen it as well, but his rankings came out.
I know the Bart Torvik ratings and stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I'm speaking about. I don't know who he is personally, but he does early rankings every year. And his rankings came out today. Kentucky checks in at number 45 nationally and number 12 in the SEC. He also ranked Kentucky number 44 offensively and number 50 defensively. Now, again, I make that statement about the transfers for a reason, because ultimately we do not know. I mean, they've not played a game yet. This is just basing it off of what they performed like last year, years past, like looking at it from that perspective. So that's why I went ahead and said that. But Colton, just like seeing those numbers, that Kentucky's checking in at number 45 nationally, and then in the SEC, ranked 12 out of 16 teams. Kind of what does that mean for you just as a Kentucky fan when hearing that and seeing that and looking at it, in the perspective of the Kentucky fan?
Well, I think it's obvious that there's a lot of national narrative that they don't have a lot of faith in Kentucky right now, based on the roster that we have out there. And I mean, who's to blame them technically at the moment? Yes, obviously, I think there's a lot to be seen. As you said last year, I think given after our first year, I think everyone was like, man, we've got to get more athletic. We've got to get deeper, right? And I think when we looked at the portal we built last year, you were like, that's exactly what we've got. We're ready to roll now. Pieces didn't fit. Injuries happened, and it did work out. So yes, there is a unknown with the current lineup that we have. So hopefully they are a big surprise in a positive way. But just looking at on paper based on rankings, I mean, you see all these other schools that have gotten hired technically recruits, and whether it be high school or the transfer portal, than what we've got. And we're still missing, pieces and different things. And so what it tells me is that the media doesn't have a lot of faith in us, and really we don't have anything that says that they're wrong, if you want to say it that way. And so that's kind of disappointing in the way. Of course, I would love to prove them all wrong. I hope that this lineup, and I hope there's still some people that we add, but right now, I mean, you're getting towards the end of portal seasons. Your options are very slim, and yet the team that you have together right now, I don't think there's a whole lot of people that are very scared of the Kentucky Wildcats for the 2026-2027 season.
No, and I think at this point, Pope is banking on two things. He's banking on the people who went into the draft who are testing the waters, and that maybe 5-1 still passing. Other than that, there's really just not any more big fish in the sea that we know are returning. Absolutely. Now, and I do think you made a good point there, and I'm going to shift gears and go to Mason. Mason Colton started off saying something I really think is a great point, is just that the national media. Notice he didn't say anything about Kentucky media. And I think that's where it's kind of laughable and funny that, this isn't just coming from Kentucky fan base people who are doing podcasts such as ourselves. This isn't just coming from more, I guess, advanced podcasts such as KSR or the national media in Kentucky related. It's coming from a national media standpoint. So overall, nationally, everybody is looking at Kentucky. And, I started off the reel that, that we posted that you said that, Kentucky is a laughing stock of college basketball right now, excuse me. And, we kind of are. And, I think that just proves our point even more that, yes, we want Mark Pope to go out and win. We want to be at elite status. Everybody wants that for Mark Pope. But the fact is that it's just when pen meets the paper right now, the names that we have on this year's roster, based on all the research that these guys are doing, we are not at the level of these other teams that are right now. And that's why we are currently sitting at number 45 nationally for the preseason poll. So, where are your thoughts on that perspective of, that it's not just us, it's not just media in Kentucky, it's national media covering all teams?
I mean, yeah, it's at this point, you look at the history of Kentucky basketball, right? And, I think every program kind of has their roller coasters, right? Their ups and their downs. But, I mean, we've been down for a while now, guys. Like, we might have got the players in the past, but we had some bad losses in the tournament. We've had some bad losses over Cal's last few years. Now you bring Pope in. He had a decent run his first year. Now, the biggest question was, can he recruit? Didn't work out last year. Not looking like it's going to work out this year. We always talk about Kentucky drives the media, right? Like, they bring in the biggest numbers. Big Blue Nation goes crazy. They're going to fill a stadium wherever they play, all these things. So, I mean, in my eyes, like, everybody's sitting back looking, thinking, what happened to the University of Kentucky, right? Like, we're not where we need to be right now. And I tell you, I look at this roster, and it just reminds me so much of last year's roster, right? Like, I think you look at the one with Zoom Diallo, comparable to Denzel Aberdeen.
Yeah, and that's
you probably get enough.
Go ahead and go through. Go ahead and just go ahead and name off the roster.
You go ahead and you look at the 2 guard. You probably get an upgrade there with Wilkins over Chandler. I think he brings a little bit more to his game than just that shooting. Obviously not as athletic, but I think he could be that 15 to 20 point a game scorer that you need. And then, the rest of the roster, you get a year 2 Moreno, which is obviously better than a year 1 Moreno if he comes back. And then, that 3-4, I don't even know who's going to start for us there. I mean, I guess Hawthorne and
could be Hawthorne, could be Williams, Cam Williams.
Yeah.
And then after that,
so I mean, just looking at
On.
Oh, yeah, On. So just looking at the roster, like, you don't see really any upgrades anywhere, right? And we saw what happened last year. We had some good wins. We were able to play with some teams. We couldn't hang with those really good teams like the Florida and some of those other really good teams last year. So, looking into it and looking ahead to the next season, like, what is there to be excited about right now? Because is it just going to be another mediocre season where we're just kind of sitting back and like, we kind of expected this. We're going to have a couple home losses to some teams we should probably beat, some other road losses to some teams that we definitely should have beat. We may win a game or 2 here or there that we shouldn't have because, they put it all together for a game or 2. We can do that. But you sit back and look, and that excitement that we have had in the past of, okay, this could be number 9. It's just not there right now, and everybody sees it. That's why the national media is talking about it. We just don't have it right now, and all these, like, you look at our little brother down the road. Look at their roster. I mean, they just got another center who's reclassing that we went all in on.
Yeah, and I think that it's like I actually like our backcourt. I do. When you're looking at Wilkins and Zoom Diallo, like looking at maybe the transfer portal itself just for backcourts. Yeah. Like, I mean, do I think that we have an absolute great backcourt? No, but do we have a really good possible backcourt? Yes, I do. I do think that. But here is what it comes down to. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but Colton has made this comment multiple times, and I'm going to give you a chance to, comment on it again. When looking at our roster, you can say what you want about the team. Like I just said, I do like our backcourt. And, we might have a decent to good team. But at the end of the day, do we look at this roster and when looking at if they're playing their best, do we have a chance of hanging banner number 9? And I think that looking at last year's roster, where we're at this point last year, we thought that we did. We even thought that after the Purdue exhibition game, like we came on here again, and like that's where we thought that we were. We're like, okay, we have an opportunity to hang banner number 9. And right now, Colton, I just don't think that any fan that is reasonable when looking at this roster can say, yes, we have a chance to hang banner number 9. Do we have a chance to maybe make the Sweet 16? And if we get hot and make an Elite 8, sure, yeah. But at the end of the day, Is that good? Yes, but what comes with that? You know, is it going to be another season where we have double-digit losses and we're counting on us to make a deep run, and we have blowout losses here and there, and then we win some games we shouldn't win, and then we don't make it deep in the SEC tournament? There's so much that goes into it, but at the end of the day, looking at the roster, can we fully sit here and say that this is a team that we want to put out on Rupp Arena at its best and that it can beat any team in the country? And I just don't think that's true with this team. And it goes back to what you have said, Colton, over and over and over. It's that grass isn't always greener. And for this take that we're talking about, it's kind of hard to just sit there and you just kind of have to swallow your pill and be like, okay, it is what it is. You know, and then when you look at it even further than that, in comparison to the past 2 seasons, and I'll give it to you, Colton, on your thoughts, is that when looking at it, and I've already sort of mentioned it, that the first year, I think we can all agree that Mark Pope, he over-succeeded. He done better. When it penned to paper on the names that were on the roster, he done much better than what expectations were. Well, you have to grow from that. Year 2, he done the opposite. When pen meets the paper, the names that we had last year were better, but we didn't perform. Now, yes, we had injuries. We had all this that happened, but at the end of the day, we didn't get it done. And right now, it's almost as if we're back. It's as if we are back to year 1 where we don't have the roster again. So are we going to see ourselves where Mark Pope goes in and over succeeds and he does better? But what does that mean, though? You know, like what does that mean at the end whenever March comes? You know, like that's where I'm at with this thing, man. I don't really know how much else to put it, I guess. So where are you at with that on this whole take of, you know, that being okay is just, it really isn't okay. But at the end of the day, that's kind of where we're at with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, at what point, like at what point, and here's the thing, we say he overachieved with maybe what he had or because of what had happened the last few years with Kentucky. But so yeah, making the Sweet 16 the first year, you sit there and be like, oh yeah, that was great, a great job. But the reality of it was that team was also not good enough to win a national championship. And you can say, well, yeah, at least they didn't get bounced in the first round. That's true, 100%. But at the end of the day, what are our expectations here, right? At what point in Cal's time would we have been disappointed with a Sweet 16 there in that first 10-year stretch, right? There was multiple times where we'd been like, oh, we underachieved, right? Sweet 16. So at what point are we celebrating a Sweet 16? Have we lowered the standard, right? Have we become this middle of the pack team who were hoping for a Cinderella run, which is not what Kentucky basketball should be about? Like, I should not have to sit there and be like, oh, I hope we make a Cinderella run. Like, I hope we're a mid-major or something and they tell stories about us in years to come. I mean, we should be the favorites. At the very least, at the very worst, you have to have a type of team where it's like that year of the Harrison twins freshman year, where you could tell when they put it all together, they were a really good team. Like, they were one of the top teams. They had all the talent, but they were young. They had tough games on the road where they didn't win a lot. But when it was a home game or a neutral site, they were one of the best teams in the country. And so when they were an 8 seed, you were like, I'd hate to play that team as an 8 seed. And they made a run to the national championship. I haven't seen that in that team. Like, I didn't see, even though we were a 7 seed this year, I didn't look at that team and say, yeah, like, we're one of the top teams. Like, here we are, here we go. No, we knew what we were, and Iowa State showed us exactly what we were. Not good enough. And it's disappointing to throw a product out there that you don't think is good enough to win it all. It's tough to win the national championship. That is very tough to do. Only one team comes out on top. But at the very least, being at the University of Kentucky, given the NIL, given the history, given all the the media rights, everything that goes into the University of Kentucky. Every 10 years, 9 of those years, at the very least, you should be able to, 8 at least, you should be able to put a product out there that feels like they are good enough to win a national championship. And so far, we're 0 for 2 in the Mark Pope era as far as putting together that type of team.
Well, and you kept saying, we are the University of Kentucky, like where the expectation of where we're supposed to be. I watched a video today, Mason, that I don't know if you all seen it, but it was, I forgot the guy's name, but he's always on there during March Madness making his picks. He's a pronounced, college analyst, but pretty much his take was, he was talking about blue bloods, and he said, who is still a true blue blood and is actually performing at a blue blood status. And he said, it's Duke and UConn and Duke. And I got to thinking, and I was like, that's true. It's 100% true.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong at all. You look at, he said the other 3 blue bloods, if you ought to say, who are the other 3 blue bloods?
Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina.
Yeah, Kentucky, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Kansas. Right now, currently as we sit, Kentucky's 45th. He said that Kansas is at 30 and North Carolina is at 26. And then he kind of figured, put into his kind of philosophy, looking at what they've done in recent tournaments. I know, given that Kansas won a national championship, was it in 21, 22, something like that? He said
22.
Ever since then, looking at it, like, who is always in the top 10 throughout the whole regular season, who is finding themselves in Elite Eights, Final Fours, national championships every single year? It's UConn and Duke. And, we would be at the bottom of the tier of that. And, that's where we're at right now. So Mason, when hearing that, like, you hear all this argument right now saying, like, well, is Kentucky the new Indiana? I wouldn't say to that extreme we are, but like, if we're not careful, we will find ourselves being to that level. Now, as far as marketing goes, no, we will still be there. And I've got something I want to share with you all here in a minute. But like, where are you at with that blue blood status? Because honestly, we're not there anymore, it seems like.
No, I mean, I don't disagree. It's been, let's see, what was our last Final Four? Was it
last Final Four was
15?
probably the 2015 team.
15, yeah.
We went to 4 or 5 in the first 6 years. No, I don't think we went back.
So, I mean, we ain't been to a Final Four in going on 12 years here. So, I don't disagree with that statement at all. And to touch on a little bit about are we the next Indiana? No, no, not at all. Because, I just sit here and think to myself, like, all the history that goes behind Kentucky basketball, how Big Blue Nation is, how much they love and care for Kentucky basketball. This will not last. Okay, we're going to come back from it. And, I just look at something like Indiana football, right? I think it's all about who you have at the helm, right? Like, who's leading your ship, who's driving your ship. And we've said it over and over. I don't feel like we have the right person driving that ship right now. And I think it will get corrected. There's a lot of changes happening right now within the athletic department at the University of Kentucky. So hopefully they can sit back and see all of these things that are going on and how we have kind of fallen behind, especially with our top tier, athletic program that has kind of led revenue and everything else for the University of Kentucky for a long, long time. Hopefully they can sit back, make some adjustments, and move forward with not just Pope, but the person above him, right? The athletic director. We've talked about Mitch on here before, but I feel like he fell behind a little bit with all this NIL. Pope just hadn't been able to get it together and figure out how to build a roster in these first 2 years. We'll see if it works out better this year, but I don't disagree. We're not a blue blood right now, and we got to get back to that status.
And, one more thing I want us to talk on here about before we get into like what we need to do for us to get back to that elite status for the next 10 years. And I'm going to hand this over to both of you all, but there was a very, very interesting video that came out today from Texas head coach Sean Miller. I don't know if y'all got a chance to see this or read the comments. And for those who hadn't, this is very interesting. Talking about UK difference, like the Kentucky difference. So, there was this whole thing last year about how much money Kentucky spent, the $22 million roster. That's kind of what was the dark cloud over this Kentucky team all last year. No matter what, whenever we won, it was like, well, it was because we had a $22 million roster. What should you do? You should win. Whenever we would lose, it's like, what are you doing? You have a $22 million roster. You should win. So the Field of 68, and if you all don't follow the Field of 68, I highly encourage you all. If you love college basketball, it's great what they do. I really enjoy watching them. Jeff Goodman does a good job. I don't really love his takes on some stuff with Kentucky, but he is got connections, and he is talking to all college basketball programs, and he keeps up with it on the daily. But anyways, they had a little interview with Sean Miller, and the question was proposed to him about how many teams does Sean Miller think at this point in the recruitment process had spent $20 million on a roster this year? Have you all seen this?
No.
Okay. Guess how many he said? He said my educated guess. And he said he was talking about how we've competed at the highest level he felt like this year in the SEC in particular. But just guess how many teams that he said?
6.
3.
Sean Miller said his educated guess, he suggests 20 to 25 programs had spent over $20 million on their rosters this year. And to me, that's just mind-boggling. And the Field of 68 kind of was just like, whoa, like, thing like, where have we come in 1 year, and looking at that, and I bring that up because, that's where we're at in NIL. But you want to talk about the Kentucky difference is that, Mason, on one of your answers when I first asked you a question a couple minutes ago, you was talking about how Kentucky will always be Kentucky. And I think that that's a prime example that for this upcoming year, you will not hear the amount of noise that you heard about how much money they spent on this roster, whether they be successful or not successful. There might be some cases for some teams, but it will not be the extent as what it was to Kentucky. You talk about all these teams. You're looking at a Tennessee. I don't know if y'all have kept up for those listening, but Tennessee is loaded. They have the number 8, number 19, number 25, number 52, number 58, and number 94 in the top 100 transfer portal at this moment. When looking at Louisville, there's no telling how much money they've spent on their roster. They just got another 5-star that Mason was alluding to that we went for aggressively. You look at Duke, you look at Michigan. So all these teams are spending loads of money. Now, are they the specific teams? I don't know. He didn't say, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that those are some of the teams that he's alluding to. But 20 to 25 teams. Now, is that correct? I don't know. But for him to say that, and that is his educated guess, and he's the head coach at Texas, and Texas also is in that mix of spending that much money, I'm going to say he's pretty close. Like, I don't think he's going to be way off. So what does that mean for you all? Like, what y'all are just now hearing this. Like, what does that mean to you all?
I mean, it's crazy. And to touch really quick, I did text you all that, like a week or two ago when Louisville got somebody else, and I was like, I swear, if they don't end up making a Final Four, that's all I better hear is how Louisville spent $20 million, and they couldn't do this, and they couldn't do that. But it won't be like that because we still are Kentucky. But, I mean, at first I was kind of surprised, but now that I sit here and think about it, like, it's really not that surprising now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like, you think about the top 15 to 20 programs in the country, like Florida. What was it rumored that Thomas Howell was getting $8 million?
Oh, yeah, $8 million.
Isn't that what it was rumored around for him? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
I didn't even mention
almost
Florida.
half in one person. Then you go through and look at some of these. Yeah, you go through and look at some of the Arkansas. Arkansas is loaded with talent. I mean, I'd say their top 6 to 7 guys are probably getting $2 million minimum. So, I mean, that puts you at 14 to 15 minimum right there, not counting the rest of their players. You go through and you look at like Kansas. Tyron Stokes probably got 6, something like that. You got Connie, who's another McDonald's All-American, who's probably getting 2 to 3. Like I just sit here, when you first said the number, it was kind of like, whoa. But now that I'm sitting here actually thinking about it, I mean, it makes sense. Like you're gonna have to spend nowadays to be able to compete. That it's pay to play nowadays, boys. It's the NBA, right? And there's no salary cap really. Like these teams can go out there and spend what they want, and it's kind of crazy to me. And we talked about it a little bit on the last episode or reel that you put out about the state of college basketball and where it's at right now. And I think something has to be done because it's getting out of control is what's happening.
Well, and Colton, I want to hear your comments on it too. But what's kind of interesting and funny, and I was listening to KSR today, and Matt Jones made a really good point. He said, when you sit back and you look at this roster that we've constructed, we're probably not far off of the $20 million roster ourselves. And they went through, and now is he sure of that? No, but it's to that point that we have to get some guys. And at the end of the day, the dudes that other teams have got on pen and paper are better than our guys. And yet we're still spending big bucks for these guys. Now, again, we don't know how that will translate into play next year. But, Colton, these teams are investing in their players. These coaches are able to go out and get the guys that they want. Kentucky, again, we have said it. We said it over and over and over. Mark Pope, we never questioned Mark Pope's ability to coach. We never questioned his ability to be able to do the X's and O's on the court, draw up schemes. Like, the biggest thing was recruiting. Can he get the recruits here? And he's tried. He's brought them in here. We just have not been able to land them. So looking at that and hearing that, Colton, that there's 20 to 25 other teams possibly that has spent over $20 million, yet we may not hear a word about it. Kentucky's still Kentucky.
Yeah. I mean, hearing all that, what it tells me is that the coach as a recruiter is as important as ever. Right? Because we can sit there and say, well, now money plays more of a factor, but Duke's still getting recruits. Kansas is still getting recruits.
That's a good point.
Arkansas is still getting recruits. And I mean, Cal leaves and you've got the number 1 recruiting class at Arkansas 2 years later or 3 years later or whatever it is. I mean, so it's obvious that, yes, you throw money out there 100%, and that's making more schools competitive with being able to get some guys that maybe wouldn't have considered them, like Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper going to Rutgers last year, right? I mean, those things wouldn't have happened in the past, but at the same time, now with all these schools really coughing up money, you've got to have that guy at the head that's able to close the deal. I mean, that's what it is. You have to be able to sell on a little more than money. Right? If you can, because I mean, if you're saying one school's offering this other kid, like they're going to offer you $1 more million, but I can change your life and I can change your game for the better for the next 20 years. A lot of kids will still respond to that. I feel like and they'll say, okay, you know what? I may get 1 million less, but for my future, this is where I need to be. And so hearing that. Yeah, I mean, and Mason said it best. It's like Major League Baseball right now. There's no salary cap, and with everyone until Congress or until whatever passes, eventually where they have to control all that about what they can spend and who can and what they get. Everyone's like, listen, we've got to find our biggest donors, and we've got to do whatever it is to cough up as much money as we can right now to still stay competitive. And I just feel like Kentucky's mindset has not been that, and we can kind of segue this into, Duke's deal here in a second. But I feel like Kentucky's just falling behind. I mean, everyone else is kind of moving forward, and we're just kind of stuck in the mud.
Yeah, and speaking of falling behind, Colton, I'm gonna go ahead and let you propose the questions about getting to that elite status, and we can kind of bounce around and bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah, so we'll get in. Obviously, you see teams like we talk about the the era of NIL and how other teams are becoming more competitive. But the reality of it is your blue bloods like Duke are still there, UConn's still there, right? Florida has won 3 national championships in the last 25 years, and they're still there. And so it raises the question of like looking where we're at right now, what we've done in the last 2 or 3 years, and looking at the new landscape of college basketball. What does it take? What do you think it's going to take to get back to having I don't know that we'll ever see the 10-year stretch we saw with Calipari's time where we went to 7 Elite Eights in 11 years or something like that, or 6 Elite Eights in 10 years. 4 Final Fours or 5 Final Fours. Like, I don't know that we're ever going to see that little stretch. But as far as being what you can say is what's it going to take to have a 10-year stretch where 7 of those 10 years we have a top 7 team, right? At some point in the season, we have a top 7 team, 7 out of 10 years. And I'm not talking about just, I wanted to raise this up because not just to say, oh, we need a new, maybe a new coach, but what all is it going to take as far as a university and the program as a whole, the different aspects, because, we'll talk about a little bit about this like Duke deal with Amazon, right? That's the world we live in now, right? I mean, they're getting probably money and they're bringing innovative thinking. What is it going to take? Because what I like to think of is like, we brought in a coach before, Calipari, who at the time sold NBA, right? He sold the NBA brand and was able to get 5, 6 of the top freshmen in the country. And everyone was like, he kind of created the one and done, and everyone he did that before everyone else. And so now you kind of see some other schools doing things before everyone else. And what's it going to take for us to kind of get back to where we're that team doing that? So, I mean, either one of you all take, let's say, what do you think besides, I think it's obvious we'll just say one thing is going to be, we think that there's going to have to be a new guy at the lead, right? I think that's the big thing that we could probably all 3 agree on eventually. And maybe he turns it around. Maybe he proves us all wrong. And I think all 3 of us would be glad to get on here and say, man, I was wrong. Bart Pope is a guy. Let's ride. Assuming that he's not. Assuming based on what we've seen so far that he's not. And this maybe is even his last year possibly. Besides a coaching change, what are some things that you think has to change within the program? Dylan, what's something that you think has to change?
So for me, I think I'm going to take a little deeper dive into it, because when I was starting to think, and we're already kind of in the mix of it, or we are in the mix of it, but one is the front office at UK. I think that is where, I think that is what put us behind. It wasn't Mark Pope. It wasn't John Calipari. It was Mitch Barnhart and Capilouto. I believe that, because no matter what John Calipari did, and no matter what Mark Pope did and is doing, it all starts with your athletic director and the president. And for me, both of those guys are really good friends from everything that I've read and heard. And they're kind of that old school status. And, you take a look at Mark Stoops. I think that's a perfect example. Mark Stoops was kind of stuck in his ways, wasn't really wanting to put his own beliefs to the side and be like, hey, I got to get into this new era of thinking. And you look at a guy who they went out and got hired, and it's Will Stein. And look at what Will Stein is doing. I think we're currently sitting at number 9 right now in the recruiting. Think about that. Kentucky football in recruiting is at number 9 nationally. So Mitch Barnhart is going to be out. Eli Capilouto is probably going to be, or it will be done as well. So for me, it's already in the making, but it starts with that front office. Getting some guys in there with some new ideas who is of the mindset, okay, how can we build around what's going on right now in this new era of college basketball and in just college athletics in general. I mean, it's a new era, so I think that starts there. That's the very first thing that popped in my head. So I know it's kind of vague, kind of basic, but I think it goes into all the other things that we're about to get into. So it starts there at the front office.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was the first thing that really popped into my mind because we've talked about it kind of shifting to being like an NBA, right? So why not structure your organization like an NBA team does, right? Like you have a president of the team, you have a GM, right? You have the coach who, yes, he has some input on the guys you want to go get, but his main job is to go out there and coach those players once you get them. Right. So I think you first start off by structuring that upper level, the front office, getting the people in there that can run that organization. Another thing for me is I feel like in today's day and age with where things are, you have to be willing to take chances. Right. And I feel like we've just been stuck in the mud. And Mitch Barnhart was so resistant to changes. And one thing that pops in my head immediately is I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, I know y'all have probably seen a thing about these like AI or this system or this computer system, whatever it is, where it kind of generates and tells you like what players to go after to build your roster, right? Like, have y'all seen that? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Is it Meta AI?
I don't know what it is. It's some system. Like they talked about how Michigan used it last year to help build their roster. And look at them. They went and won a national championship, right? And they talked about how UK has kind of brought that on recently, but I've read some stuff that Mark Pope's kind of hesitant to use it, trying to like prove himself. But I think at this point in where the college landscape is, you have to be willing to take chances. Like if you hear something new that comes out and it's innovative, take a chance. Like where we're at right now, take a chance on it. Like, and like Duke's doing with this Amazon deal, like right now there's no rules around NIL. So why are you not trying any and every avenue to be able to create an advantage right now? And it just feels like we haven't been doing that for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it is, since things have kind of started shifting. I know NIL hadn't been around that long, but it feels like we've just been stuck in mud those years. And Dylan, you brought up Will Stein. Like that brings back to the other point Colton said. Like I think the root, everybody's number one answer here would be the guy at the lead, right? Because you look at Will Stein and what he's already done with the recruiting class. I know he hadn't played a football game yet, but apparently they are using this system. Like we have it at the University of Kentucky, and apparently the football program is using this system to help build their roster and target guys that they want to go after and all these different things. And I'm not smart enough to be able to put in all the pieces, and do all that computer work and build the algorithm to figure out what that is. But I think the biggest thing for me is at this point, stop being scared. Like find something innovative. You see Duke with this Amazon deal, kind of the first of its kind. Find something innovative to be able to create that edge against other people, right? Create that gap, give you that advantage. And we got to bring somebody in there that's willing to do that has that mind, that's not scared, and creative mind to be able to go do things and be the first to try something. I mean, if it fails, at least you gave it a shot, right? It's better than what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Come where you at?
I mean, I really kind of a combination of you guys. I mean, because I was kind of on the mindset of Mason where you hear, when this Amazon deal came out, you saw KSR and Matt Jones talk about like saying like, I don't know that I've ever heard of a school doing this. Like this is a first of its kind. People was like, well, there's been other, but it was like to this magnitude, it was like the first thing. And that used to be like Kentucky, right? And that's why I kind of mentioned the whole Calipari thing with like the whole like one and dones and the whole like he took a totally different approach towards college basketball, right? Hey, we're going to try to take 5 freshmen and win, but they're going to be the top 5 of the best players and they're all going to be lottery type picks. Right? No one was thinking that. They were all like, oh, we do want to get a new freshman in here, build them up. And Cal was like, I'm going to get the top of the top and we're going to try to win with these guys and I'm going to coach them, get ready for the NBA. Right? That was a first, and that was competitive for a while, but we saw as time went on that it was kind of tougher to do that. Right before the while, it was at the top. So then just like everything else, everything evolves and you have to evolve with it. And now we're stuck in a stage where I feel like we've actually found a way to go backwards somehow. And, we got stuck. We kind of leveled out and then all of a sudden, we just stopped, and we're going backwards. Like, you can't do that in today's time. Like, even if you plateau for a year, you can plateau, but then you got to go up. You definitely can't go this way, and it just seems like that's where we're at right now, and that's a tough place to be. So I'm kind of on the combination of both of you all. Yes, I think it kind of starts with the front office, like Dylan said. I think you got to get the right people in there that has that innovative thinking. But at the same time, then I think you just have to take a chance. Like Mason said, you have to try to do something that gets ahead of the game on everybody else. And so
I think that another one, obviously, that we've not mentioned, but at the end of the day, you can have a front office who is hiring the right guys to lead your team. You can have the guy that's the leader of your team who is going out and taking chances. But at the end of the day, also, you got to go get some dudes. You have to. And by what I mean by that is, it's exactly what it sounds like. You have got to go get the best of the best. And I think this goes right along with what we're talking about here. I'll raise my hand. I think I took it for granted that, we made assumptions. And the assumption was that it don't matter who you have at the University of Kentucky leading your basketball program as the head basketball coach. You're still going to be able to go and get players who come and play for the front of the jersey. Excuse me. And that's just not the case. Like, it's just not. In today's NIL era. Like, right. So, like, you can't just assume that the brand is going to do the talking for you and lead that conversation. That doesn't exist. Is it respectable? Yes. Does it mean more once you get there? Yeah. But you have to go get these guys who are difference makers, who are going to change the game. And when the ball is in their hands, they can go out and either create for others, create for themselves. They can go get a bucket when you need it. And Mark Pope has not delivered on that player yet. He's went fishing, but he's not caught the big fish yet. And I think that in order for us to be where we want to be at in 10 years again and go on this run, it may not be the run that Colton alluded to. But for us to even get close to that, you got to get the front office. You got to take chances, but you have to also get a dude or dudes, plural. And we've not done it.
My head's just sitting here spinning right now, kind of like thinking of ways to be innovative and like find new approaches and gain that leg up. And I don't really know how all this would work, but why has somebody, obviously it can't come from the University of Kentucky, but why has somebody not started like an elite high school program in Kentucky, like a Prolific Prep or a Montverde or an IMG or something that there is close to the University of Kentucky that you kind of have, like, let's say, like, the thing that comes to my mind, and I don't know the logistics behind all this, I'm just like spitballing ideas here on ways that they can be innovative. Like, just thinking of stuff like this. Like, you think of like programs right now, like you have feeder programs that go into a high school program, right? It's not necessarily like a feeder program, but you have like a high level high school team that can pay players to come there, right? Like, they get scholarships to come to this school. They kind of run the same system as the University of Kentucky does. Like, why do we not try something like that? It's not going to land us all of them, obviously. But
would it matter? Would it matter though? I mean, Mason, we've not even been able to keep guys from Kentucky that are the big fish in Tyron McKinney and Tyrone Stokes.
I know that.
I'm just saying, like.
I know, but
no,
I mean, eventually you're going to get like one or two of those guys every couple of years, right? And if you're running kind of the same systems that whoever the coach is at Kentucky runs, I don't know. They just got to find some way to be innovative and try to gain an advantage against the rest of college basketball teams.
Yeah. Speaking of gaining advantages, we've been talking a little bit about it. Now we're going to dive into it here in a minute about this whole Amazon deal with Duke. For the ones who are listening who are like, what are they even talking about? We will explain that. But before we get to that, we're going to take a little break. We're going to do a little fun little game. I got one for y'all completely unsports related. I actually gave this little trivia quiz to Claire, and she done pretty good. I, on the other hand, would not have done well with this. I mean, there's some that I know, and the reason why I bring this up is because my father-in-law had actually asked me, I'm not going to tell you which one. He asked me all these questions, and I gave the answer, and he's like, come on, Dylan. You need to know that. And I'm like, yeah, I know I need to know it, but you know what? I'm just not the best at history. That's why I'm selling medicine now. So we're going to do a little history quiz for you two. We're going to go one apiece. And you know what? For those who are listening, see if you know these.
Can we tag team this? Because this is going to be bad.
Oh, no, we're not tag teaming this. All right, here we go. Mason, what are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution called?
Oh, the Bill of Rights.
Okay, that is correct. Way to go. Okay. Colton, how many justices serve on the U.S. Supreme Court?
I have my answer.
It's gotta be an odd number. Is 7 or 9? 7 or 9? 7.
I need an answer.
I'm gonna go 9.
That is correct.
Oh.
Okay, 2 for 2. Way to go, boys. All right. I thought Colton was about to lean up in his chair and be like, okay, let's go. Here we go. And it's hilarious because no matter what, if Colton didn't know it, he was going to act as if he was so confident and like, I know this, like. All right, Colton, here we go. Mason, which branch of government has the power to rule laws unconstitutional? Which branch of government?
You cut out on me there. Laws, I'm going to guess the judicial.
Man, you all are on fire. 3 for 3. Way to go. Okay, Colton, here we go. How long is a term for a U.S. senator?
He cut out. You said a term for U.S. senator?
Yes.
Yeah. 6 years.
That is correct. Oh, wow. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going in and out a little bit, but you're
Okay.
there.
All right, here we go. Oh, man, y'all are killing us. All right, Mason, which president led the United States during the Civil War?
Abraham Lincoln?
That is correct. Oh, my goodness.
I was making sure. Like, I know the stuff at the end of the war, but.
All right, Colton, in what year did the United States declare independence?
1776.
Oh, my goodness. We are about to have a clean sweep. I'm very impressed. I'm not going to lie. You all, I'm glad I'm not on this because I would not have done well with some of these. Mason, but the only harder one that I was questioning, I looked at, I was like, I actually knew that one. But anyways, what U.S. historical event marked the start of the Great Depression?
Oh.
You know this. I knew this one. Like, I knew this one. Just think about it. What was like the big event that happened that started the Great Depression? Don't second guess yourself. Three, 2. I will allow you to phone a friend. That is correct.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Market crash.
But I was like,
I told
was
you.
the stock market really going at that point?
Yeah, that's why I said don't second guess yourself. All right.
Colton, don't let us down here.
Yeah, hold on, I don't know.
Colton, which U.S. state was the final one to join the Union?
Oh, no. The Union? What's
if
it?
you like pina colada.
If you like
If you like me.
if you
Just
like
trying
the join the Union.
3.
I don't know. Was it Florida?
It is Hawaii. I was trying to make something like tropical. I was just trying to like get a song, but it was Hawaii. Hey, I'm still very impressed. All right, Mason, here we go. Which amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects freedom of speech?
Oh gosh. I'm trying to think back to the what's the show? I can't even think of the show right now. That used to, you know what I'm talking about?
Where he's like, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yes. What is that?
What is that?
All right, in answer 3, 2,
1.
That is correct. The First Amendment. All right. Colton, last question. What document is considered the highest law in the United States? It's the highest. Highest of them all.
The U.S. Constitution?
That is correct. 9 for 10. Give yourself a round of applause. I mean, I cannot explain to y'all how impressed I am by this because, again,
crazy.
I think I would have got maybe 5 or 6 tops. So very, very impressed.
Schoolhouse Rock, Mason.
Is that what it is? Yep. Yeah. I was looking it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done, fellas. I will say it again. Man, I hope the ones who are listening are like very impressed as well, because the average American, I was looking at this, like they said the average American you would think should know these does not know a lot of these. And I'm one of those. That's why I'm average, you know.
We'd pass the citizenship test.
There you go.
They let us be.
All right. Well, let's get into this whole Duke Amazon deal. So when looking at this, this is innovative thinking. You know, the UK, we talk about, you know, this is something, a deal that Kentucky needs. So Mason, I'm going to kind of push it over to you since I led that segment. And I'm going to kind of let you introduce what this whole deal is, give your thoughts on it. We can kind of bounce off each other. But the floor is yours. What are we talking about here?
I don't know. I'll make sure I get all my facts right because I don't have all that written down.
Well, Colton, you can go ahead and lead into it as well if you want. I mean, I can talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to let y'all kind of take.
Yeah, hold on.
Well, I mean, essentially the gist of it, just to simplify it, is that Duke has signed a deal with Amazon that is essentially agreeing that they will play a primetime Amazon game.
3 of them. We'll be playing
3 of them.
Yep.
In this coming season and for years to come, that they will agree to play. And these are going to be big time matchups. Like I think it's supposed to be Michigan, Gonzaga, and I can't remember the
UConn.
Yeah. UConn, right? So they've agreed to do these matchups, and essentially the agreement will, you know, everyone's assuming that it allows, you know, not only, you know, that Duke is getting essentially money to put towards NIL, right, towards this. And we all know how big Amazon's gotten and how powerful Amazon is and how much money it's worth now. And so, you know, that's something you haven't heard of, right? You haven't heard these colleges, right? You've seen the NBA, you've seen the leagues do it, right? Now the NBA is doing, you know, games on primetime, Amazon, and all of a sudden Sunday Night Baseball moved to Peacock, NBC, right? They've signed you see these leagues sign deal, but this is the first, as we've heard, of like an individual college team actually signing it. And so, you know, that's the innovative thinking we were talking about. But, you know, right now everyone's kind of looking at like what Duke has already kind of maintained, being that blue blood status and being a consistent top 5 team, still getting recruits, still having really good seasons. And yet now they seem to be the first on top of doing something like this. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a big thing for them. I mean, I'm going to tune in, right? Those are big matchups, right? I mean, I'm going to watch, and I figure a lot of people will. So I feel like it's a big thing that's going to happen for Duke.
Yeah, and something I also want to add in there is that, and you may have, I cut out, did you talk about how the players are going to be, like promoting this? Did you talk about that as well? I cut in and out.
Know.
Okay, so like basically also these players, the Duke players, are going to be getting paid. So how are they getting paid? They're getting paid to just promote this game. So you will probably see players with running some reels on their social media accounts, wearing Amazon stuff maybe, whatever it is to promote these games. And that is how they're going to be getting paid. And whether it be the products through Amazon that they're getting, so they could get an Amazon product. So just say Amazon ships them, and I don't know exactly this is exactly how it's going to work, but virtually, say Amazon ships them some merchandise or some products. They're going to promote that product while still promoting the Amazon game. And they're going to be getting paid, and all these guys are getting paid. So even like, it's not just going to be your big guys that are your starting five. You're also going to be seeing your reserves and the reserves to those guys. Like, so 1 through 14, like, you're going to be seeing everyone get paid. And what it comes down to is, like, there's nothing that has been done before like this. And Duke beat us to it. Talk about, advancement. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. So, yes, it may seem very simple and like, okay, what's the big deal? Who cares? Well, money. That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. Money, 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 money. And people want money. So they're going to go to programs that are like, oh, how can I make more bank here? Well, here's another way to make a more of an investment on your playing time and your career here at Duke University. Mason, what do you got? You got anything else you want to add in there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is that it gives them another way to pay players, right? Like, you're sitting here talking about the 20 to 25 teams that have spent that $20 million. And I do think there's there's not a hard rule, but there's this, amount of revenue that they can generate to spend on this, right? But you have these outside boosters and programs. Kentucky started one, I think, last year, the year before, kind of that outside program, But this is significant, obviously. Like, you look at Amazon and how they've kind of taken over Thursday night football games for the NFL, right? Everybody tunes into those, right? I think they just started a deal this year with the NBA as well, right? NBA. I think some of the playoff games were on Prime. So now, they're jumping into the college landscape, and Duke's the first one to jump into that. So who knows what it's going to open up outside of just, being able to add an extra $1 million onto a player's, salary compensation. Maybe it's stock shares, revenue shares in Amazon for the rest of their life. Who knows what this is going to generate for them? So, and who knows what, I did read something about how apparently, I think Michigan and the Big Ten were kind of trying to argue against how it wasn't right. I don't know if y'all have seen that yet, but I was reading something about how it could potentially become a lawsuit later, and they were talking about TV rights. I don't know the whole logistics behind it, but this is the kind of stuff, like, even if it does fall through and ends up getting revoked later down the line, like, you obviously can't get any penalties for it because there was nothing saying that you couldn't do it. So why not go out there and try to generate these types of things? And shout out to Duke. They're willing to try these kind of things and probably going out actively searching for these kinds of things. That it's an awesome opportunity for Duke, and honestly, I'm kind of jealous of it. And at this point, you sit here and think, like, man, they probably went there and chose Duke.
Yeah, and that's so disappointing because the thing is, if you look at the ratings, how many times do you see that Kentucky basketball is still one of the most watched games? Like, they'll list like the 10 most watched games of the season, and 6 of them will involve Kentucky basketball.
Yep.
And you would think that as a streamer like Amazon, that they would automatically be thinking, hey, why don't we want to try to get with the program, or did we even what had we actually tried to reach out and been like, hey, listen, like, we have the most viewership. Like, why would you not want this deal with us? Like, you're going to get a ton of views, like, you're going to get a ton of advertisement, like, but I'm sure we didn't pick up the phone and call Amazon, or
we might have declined.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we actually did have something sort of in the making of this years ago, apparently. And that was with Netflix. And we backed out and was like, no, we're not going to do this. So we did have an opportunity with that, looking at, a product of Netflix and pairing up Kentucky basketball and having that. I don't know the details and logistics to it, but we did have an opportunity, I believe, and we We didn't proceed with that. We backed out. It wasn't Netflix, I don't think, that backed out. I think it was the University of Kentucky. Probably Mr. Mitch Barnhart doing his best of the best. Eli Capilouto, probably. A lot of those guys and gals, running Kentucky's front office. So, yes, it is unfortunate that we didn't beat Duke to something like this. But again, that's what we're getting back to. Like, what do we have to do to get to that elite status? Let's get into now a little bit of NBA playoffs. I don't know that we're coming up on hour 5. Let's hit the NBA playoffs. We can say something real quick about the Derby after, possibly, if we're going to still do the game as well. But NBA playoffs, fellas, I think that the biggest story right now, well, let's just talk about the matchups. So we'll have in the Western Conference semifinals, you have the number 1 Thunder versus the 4 Lakers. You have the number 6 Timberwolves taking on number 2 Spurs. You have the number 1 Pistons taking on number 4 Cavaliers, and then the number 3 Knicks playing number 7 seed 76ers. I think the biggest playoff story right now is the amount of upsets you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing the Lakers advance without a Luka and Austin Reeves for majority of the series. You're looking at the Timberwolves taking down Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. You see the 76ers knock off the Celtics. You see the Pistons, who had to take it to a Game 7 on a miraculous Game 6 comeback, being down by 20 to advance. So I just think that you're seeing a lot of upsets, a lot of teams that probably people didn't maybe see getting past the first round that are looking at Eastern or Western Conference finals and trying to take a berth to that conference finals. And then also, we got to talk about it. LeBron Waka Flocka James. Colton, let me tell you something real quick.
Goat.
And for the viewers out there, I hope this is true, because I've seen a little stat and video of it. I don't think it's not true. I think it is true. LeBron James, without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves for 3 or 4 games, won more playoff games, not playoff series, won more playoff games this year than Michael Jordan won his entire career without Scottie Pippen. Let that sink in. That's right.
Let that sink in. They
LeBron
played the
James.
Rockets without Kevin Durant.
Oh, don't give me that. LeBron James also is 41 years old. Didn't have Luka Doncic. Didn't have Austin Reeves for majority of the series.
They were the 4 seed. Let's stop acting like they were the.
He is 41 years old, averaging 23.2 points per game in the series, 8.3 assists in the series, 7.2 rebounds in the
and how many turnovers?
The series, and 38 minutes he's averaging as a 41-year-old. This man is not human. Mason,
Dylan, you remember that video I sent you a couple weeks ago? Do you remember that? All right, let me just play this video for you real quick, Colton. All right,
what are you talking about?
Just listen to this, and you're gonna be like, okay, maybe he is the GOAT.
The Golden State Warriors. I feel like that makes sense. They had a dynasty going for a little bit. LeBron has more playoff wins. The Warriors have 113. LeBron has more than 113? Okay, next one. You ready?
This is since 1996. When did LeBron come into the league? 2000.
I don't want to hear longevity.
No, 2003 or 4, yeah.
Okay. So since 1996, who has more playoff wins? LeBron James or these NBA franchises?
James or the Boston Celtics? I mean, this one has to be the Celtics. LeBron James has more. The Celtics have 151. Okay. Wait, how's that even possible? Next one. Mind you, LeBron was drafted in 2003. So these teams have 7 extra years to make up for lost ground. LeBron James or the Miami Heat? LeBron or the Miami Heat? I mean, LeBron was on the Heat, but outside of that, I mean, they had D-Wade for a few years. I'm going to say LeBron just based off the trend. The answer is LeBron James. Miami Heat have 161. All right, now we're getting into the heavy hitters. LeBron James or the Los Angeles Lakers? I mean, it sounds like it should be the Lakers, so I'm going to say the Lakers. I'm going to say you're trying to fool me now. The answer is LeBron James. The Lakers have 165. LeBron James or the San Antonio Spurs? Well, the Spurs were year after year. I'll say for the bit, the Spurs. The answer is LeBron James. The Spurs have 175. LeBron James has more playoff wins than every NBA franchise since 1996.
More playoff wins than every NBA franchise since 1996.
All I'm hearing is that he came up short a lot of times then.
No,
So,
look at who he played against.
Okay.
Look at who Michael Jordan
Steph,
watered down
Steph,
lead.
Steph Curry's got 4 championships.
Dylan, Colton's argument kills me because he loves Cal, but he didn't win championships.
Why did Steph Curry's got 4 championships?
All right, well, hold on.
The same amount as LeBron.
We're not going to turn this into a LeBron debate. I was just aggravating, but he is the GOAT. But okay, let's get back to the playoffs real quick.
I'm sorry for all our viewers. Please do not stop following us because of these guys.
Listen. Colton, what is it that you're taking away from this NBA playoffs? Give me maybe one thing that you're looking at that's kind of intriguing, that's going to be surprising in your opinion. Like what's something when looking at the playoffs right now? Because it's been two things, or 3 things. One, I still think the Thunder are just dominant. They're so well built. Number two, I'm excited to kind of see the resurgence and like the beginning of like the Wemby playoff era, the Spurs, like the reuniting. And how unfair is it that they went from Robinson to Duncan to Wemby as starting centers? I mean, that's just unreal. What a run. But then the third one is, if there was ever a year for the Knicks to finally get back to the championship game, this is the year with the Celtics going down. I don't try. Who was the other ones in the East?
Cavs,
Pistons.
The Cavs and Pistons.
And I really think,
yeah. So I think that this is as good a year as for the Knicks. So I think that would be good for NBA basketball. I think if you could put like a Knicks and Spurs or a championship
Knicks
game.
Thunder.
I mean, that's a Knicks Thunder. Like I think that would be a very good for the NBA, because the NBA is falling off a little bit as far as ratings. They've been trying to do some things to kind of be innovative. I know that, did y'all see the tanking thing that they're coming out with or whatever? You know how they were been tanking, but they're saying that where like if you fall within like the bottom 3, you actually get less balls than like in the lottery than if you fall in the 5 or 6 instead of how it was more. Now you're actually going to get less. So I mean that's a smart move, right? That gives you motivation to not fall in the bottom 3 to actually try to win some games. So, I think those are the couple things that stand out in these playoffs to me.
Mason, what you got for us?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything Colton said. I think to me, in the East, obviously, like he said, the Knicks have a great chance here. I really just wish the 76ers could put it all together because, I love watching Maxey. I've always liked Paul George. I don't really care for Embiid, but I do think they have a good young core with Maxey and Edgecombe, and I honestly think it's time for them to move on from Embiid. So I'd like to see them here in the next year or so, try to move him, maybe get somebody else in there to help out Maxey and Edgecombe. I think they're an up-and-coming team there, but I do like the Knicks coming out of the East. In the West, I think the Thunder are probably quite a bit above everybody else just overall and who they are. I saw JJ Redick kind of talking about, some of the greatest teams in NBA history, talking about the Bulls and the Warriors and how he'd put this Thunder team up there with them based off some of the ratings and some of the analytics that had went into it. But don't ever count out LeBron James. That's all I got to say.
That's right. He's going into, though, the largest odds deficit that he's ever faced in a playoff series. I mean, and as he should.
Aren't they like 17-point underdogs?
Yes, I thought it may have went up. Last time I checked, it was like 15.5, so it might be up at the. I mean, like it's a substantial difference. And then I'm sitting here watching this Spurs, man. The Spurs court and their fan base right now are just like rocking this color wave of like light blue, purple, yellow. The fans are all like they got it going. So good for them. We'll see what comes up in the future here. But as far as the NBA playoffs itself, it has been a good playoffs, I believe. And I've not watched a lot of NBA basketball this year, but I've watched a lot more playoff basketball. And just because it's every night and it's good games. Already had 3 Game 7s, so like it's really good. Okay, let's jump into Mason. You got us a game. We're going to skip over the Kentucky Derby just because we're coming up on an hour 15. Been a good episode. Talked a lot of Kentucky stuff just because there's always drama in the Bluegrass State for Kentucky basketball where we're at right now. But get us into this game that me and you've already played, but Colton has not, and he will be our contestant.
Yeah. So same game we played 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
1 episode ago. I don't know. But what I'm going to do is, Colton's going to close his eyes. I'm going to hold up a number. And then me and Dylan, he's going to pick like a category, for example, an NBA team. And based off who we give him, he tries to figure out what that team is from a 1 to 10 scale. And he's going to try to guess the number. So we'll go back and forth. We'll each give you 2. So like you'll pick 2 categories for me, 2 categories for Dylan, then you'll guess. All right. We'll just do we'll do 3 numbers here and then we'll call it a night. All right, Colton, go ahead and close your eyes. Dylan, are you looking?
Yes, I am.
All right, we're good. All right, so throw one of us a category first, and then we'll go.
Okay. Let's do favorite genre of music.
Okay, Dylan or me?
You.
All right, I'm gonna go classical.
One.
All right, give Dylan a topic.
And I come up with a different category?
Yep, come up with a different category.
Okay. Top condiments.
Horseradish.
Two.
Okay,
So
we'll
now,
just go.
So now, collectively amongst Mason and mine,
Yep.
What number
Do
is
you
it?
think
Like
it
it's
is?
not separate.
1
It's
through
like
10.
the same number, but like based on
Both of our answers.
1.
It was 2.
It was
You're like Dylan. He was 1 off every time last time. All right, close your eyes again. Dylan, you pick the number this time.
Now I know what we're doing. Okay.
He said, "Now I know."
Dylan picked it. Hold it up a number. All right. All right, you're good.
Okay. Favorite outdoor activity. Mason.
Oh, favorite outdoor activity. Ooh. I'm gonna go. See, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm gonna go cornhole.
I'm gonna say 6.
Okay.
All right, Dylan. Favorite genre of movies.
I'll go with I'm gonna go comedy.
Okay, I would say 7.
Final answer.
I'm gonna say 6.
Final answer.
Final answer.
It was 7, Bulldog. Stick with your
He done the
gut.
same thing that I done. I went back and forth, and I would say like I'm going with this. All right, last one.
All right. Call it, Dylan. All right. You're good.
Okay. Favorite place to vacation. Mason.
Oh, man. See. Oh, man. This is tough. I'm going to say, just because we've talked about this, I'm going to say Gulf Shores.
Gulf Shores.
Colton's
Okay.
like, that didn't help at all. Colton has no idea.
Okay. DG, favorite candy?
Candy or just like in general, like candy involving like, because that's a broad, like, are you talking about chocolate and candy? Or
Yeah.
just like,
Listen, I know you like to always snack on candy, so give me what you like. Give me
Snickers.
I didn't give one for yours, but Langston did I?
No.
I was gonna say I'm gonna say 5.
Final answer?
5. And Dylan DG, I'm gonna say 5. I'm going 5. Final answer.
He got one right.
Let's go.
Good work.
That is
good
correct.
work.
All right, we'll end on a positive note. Well, thank you all for joining us for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share, and tell a friend. And if you totally disagree, like we started out this podcast, let us know. We want to hear it in the comments sections. If you want any merchandise, Bluegrass State of Mind hats, let us know. We'll be happy to get you one of those, and just contact us. And as always, go Cats.
Go
Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.